Hasan Minhaj is coming in.
What's up?
What's going on, man?
What's happening? How are you?
You're happening. That's what's happening.
Really?
It's when I think
Are we
so.
live right now?
We're live. No, I was just. You think I'd be that flattering, like off the air? Like I'm just like, yeah, man, you're happening. Like
Hilarious.
yeah. What's going on, man?
I'm just coming in and doing this show, man.
That's right.
We debut on Sunday. I'm not sleeping and
Just getting the word out.
just getting the word out.
Yeah. Now this is how are you feeling about on a couple of levels? Patriot
up?
Act is of course the show on Netflix.
Yes.
Your show.
Yes.
Number one, you leave the comfort of the Daily Show.
Oh man, and it was a nice gig.
Right. And you leave that to do your own thing where it's you're responsible for it,
Yes.
right? On the Daily Show,
You're
you can
Scottie
put-
Pippen, dude.
Right. You
gotta
can put all
see-
your concentration into your bit.
Support Michael.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Now, you're taking the MJ spot, which is a tough spot to be in, and you're doing it on Netflix where they've
Yes.
attempted,
Yes.
but they haven't clicked in with what is the recipe for topical success
Why do you think that is?
for a show. I think because people are just like Netflix conditioned people to watch it a certain way.
Yes.
And I think people end up confused when it's like, well, where's the rest of them? I just watched 30 of them right now.
But then why do you think it worked? Let's say on HBO, like when you go to HBO Go.
Well, I think because people are so used to, I think it's just the conditioning of the
conditioning
audience.
of the audience.
Right? Like HBO
Yeah.
conditioned people
Yeah.
that this is traditional TV. Even though it's an app, we
Yeah.
know what HBO is.
You can binge it and you can.
Right. Every week an episode comes out. I'll watch the old ones and binge, but Westworld comes on. And every week, John Oliver comes on every week.
Yeah.
So I think, and maybe Netflix just needs to do it enough times.
Yeah.
Maybe now is the perfect time.
I think. Look, man. I also feel very lucky. They gave me runway room.
Mhm.
We have a big order,
Right.
so it's like we have time.
Yeah, they got 32 episodes.
Yeah,
Right?
which is about it's going to take us right up to 2020,
So that's a year and change
a year and change, right?
of
So-
shows.
which is good.
That's huge.
Which
yeah.
is good. Yes.
I don't think they've done that before with 32
No,
episodes.
they didn't.
Really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had to. It was a good situation.
Yeah, that's a show of faith. Like that's got to make you feel confident in like, okay, Netflix has my back on this. Like we both have the vision for
Yeah.
this thing that should be successful.
Yeah, I mean, and we put together a proof of concept. So before
Right.
we even shopped it, it was like, hey, this is what the show looks like.
So you made an episode of a
Correct.
hypothetical show.
Correct. You can touch it. You can feel it.
Yeah.
You can just hit play. Here's the Vimeo link. Hit play.
Boom.
Boom.
And they probably thought too, anybody that like wants this enough and has enough of a concept in their head that they're actually just going to go and make one,
Yes.
we can trust them to do the work that's required
Yes.
to do a show.
Yeah, and I think look, I also have a very unique fan base
Mm-hmm.
that has not really been tapped into. And
What's the fan base?
I think it's just really young people with varying shades of melanin
right.
who share my identity,
Uh-huh.
who share sort of like my POV
Uh-huh.
that you don't see a lot of.
Yes.
And I think, I mean, you probably know this coming in the radio and podcasting spaces. You bring your sort of legion of fans,
Definitely.
and that's important.
Yeah.
And it's not sort of like, hey, there's this new face and we have to sort of build it up. I sort of have an existing group of people that I think are really, really rabid and want to see me take these swings and talk about some of these topics that don't get talked about a lot in the news.
And we were talking about like Megyn Kelly and how her ultimate screw up wasn't about blackface. It was trying to do something that was completely foreign to
Sure.
what her built-in audience was.
Sure.
I feel like you're pretty smart in the sense that you're like, I'm going to go off and do this new show that's just my show, but
Yeah.
the stuff that people love on The Daily Show, the spirit of that
Yes.
is still, intertwined with the whole
with the
thing.
storytelling elements of what I
Right.
did in the special, all of that stuff. But we've graduated. We're doing highbrow cultural commentary, political commentary. So it's like the merger of all these things.
Now, do you sit and go like, okay, we need to figure out where the balance is between funny and political and preachy and this and that? Because, there's, as much as there's an
Yeah.
audience that isn't spoken for, there's a huge audience that, like, the minute you show up at the Correspondents Dinner, I'm sure you made fans and you made new people you made enemies, right?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
that's where people are right now.
Yeah. Look, you know this, man, for what we do, indifference or hatred is, hey, I'm out.
Right.
I'm not trying to speak to either of those two people,
Mhm.
of just people who are just like, yeah, I'm not interested in a political satire show. I don't want to watch that.
Right.
I'm never going to get those people, or people who hate me, who are just like, dude, I hate his hair. I hate his eyebrows. I hate everything about this guy.
Right.
This like
he seems happy. He seems confident.
Yeah.
Fuck
This
is his
like
problem?
this like Indian boy band looking.
Right.
They see Ryan Seacrest looking dude is up here talking to him. I don't want to hear it.
Right.
I'm never going to convince that person to want to see the show. This is about people who are like, oh yeah, finally.
Right. So this is more what you have in mind is like this, almost like what you would want to see.
What I would want to see.
Right.
And then as an artist, you're just like, put out the stuff that you feel needs to be said or exist in the world. That's it.
I was listening to you on Bill Simmons' podcast, and you said something interesting that that you said that the Correspondents Dinner you thought was like a great gig.
It's one of the
comedians.
best gigs in comedy, period. Undeniable, no questions asked.
Which is wild because like most people would not agree with that. I think people who have done it, like it seems stressful. It seems like it's an audience that is not your audience necessarily.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like a terrible environment for comedy.
Yeah, but you also have to understand the variables. Everyone at home is watching.
So you're thinking not just of the audience in the room.
Why would you?
Right. I think a lot of comics...
Why would you be that short-sighted?
Well, I think a lot of comics are, they get their conditioning on the stage, and even when they're doing, like, they think about the people in the room.
Sam, please explain this to me.
Yeah.
You get to, how often, in what other country in the world, do you get to make fun of the most powerful people to their face, point at them and go, yeah, you look like this.
Well, technically, Trump wasn't there, so you didn't get to do it right to his face.
I mean, but you're talking about...
But he saw it.
You're talking about all the people that disseminate not only media coverage,
yes,
but also like people in the administration.
When you could do a 5-minute bit on USA Today, and the people from USA
right
Today
there.
are sitting there going like,
100%.
Come on.
Yeah, come on, man. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's if that doesn't get you excited,
right?
I don't know what to tell you, man.
With that, I mean,
and the world is watching.
Yeah.
And let's add layer number 3. There's no physical consequences that happen to you coming out of that.
If anything,
it
benefits you.
I mean, let's be
1000%
1000% real. We know what happened this past week with the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
Of course. You don't have to worry about that.
That's a privilege, man.
Right. Right.
And I think a lot of American comics don't understand that.
Yeah.
That's what I want. You said that's the perspective I want to add to the show. Look at the whole world. By the way, Netflix goes to 190 countries.
Like you're celebrating the fact. Like not only are we doing this,
100,000%.
half the show is celebrating that we're doing this.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's cool. Someone who looks like me, people have certain assumptions about me to be like, this is what I love America for.
So when did you lock into... This is who I am. I'm confident in who I am. I'm going to deliver this message to this audience. Like, I'm sure in the beginning, you're just trying to appeal to people, right? Like, I think that's a common comedian thing. Like, I just want love. I want appeal. I want laughs.
Yeah, you're just like, Facebook's crazy, right?
Exactly. So,
relationships are wild, right?
Casting that broad net.
Yeah.
At what point do you go, I know who I am. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, you start to see who you really love. Like when you start understanding the musicians that you really love, the movies that you really love, what makes them special? They're anomalies. They're really, really good they're one of one. Yeah. They feel special. They don't feel like anything else. And then you get to a point where you're like, wait, this is what I'm becoming. Like, this is my goal to become in that. Yeah, I really struggled with it for a long time. And people can look at my old stand-up clips and be like, yeah, he's not that good. Because, I'm just trying to relate to everybody. And look, some people will look at my stuff now and be like, I still don't think it's very good. And you're 100% entitled to your opinion. But I'm doing me. And I think this is, I'm starting to feel, now doing comedy now for 14 years, feeling I'm now exploring this very interesting space. Yeah. And I'm excited by that. And it's interesting because you went to school for political science, right? So you're actually getting to use that. Yes. In what you do. Yes. Which is interesting because like I went to school for sociology. I don't use any of it. Like it was just. That's another conversation about how college is a racket. Because by the way, like poli sci, it's 60 units, and like those books I could have just gotten on Amazon.com, and read 4 chapters because that's what I ended up doing total. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And then whether you write a paper or not, you've let's be real, retained the same amount of information. Yeah. But if you you talk to someone like Stephen Colbert, who's like a Jedi master of rhetoric, logic, the English language. He's a voracious reader. It's crazy. Like you're like, oh, that's why you're one of the greatest of all time at what you do. Yes, because I'm talking about take performance to the side. I'm talking about brain power. Right. How many guys do you know who've been like, hey, have you read this book on logic and rhetoric? Like currently, Not a lot, man.
No, of course not.
Not a lot.
No.
There's a lot of scrolling going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not a lot of like
what's the blurb on it? Okay, I kind of got it. Like, what's the gist of it?
Yeah, I read it on the Skim. You know what I mean? Whereas this guy, like, you'll see in interviews, this is my favorite thing he'll do. He'll be like, in an interview, to be like, it'll be like, Aristotle once said. I'm like, how would you
possibly know what Aristotle ever said? How did you know that? How did you just have that in your brain?
Yeah. One of my favorite Tolstoy quotes is this. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And you'll do that casually in conversation, too. It's incredible.
Yeah, and you're like, I thought as comedians, all we needed to be responsible for was the most creative way to talk about our penises. And you're sitting here raising the bar to this level.
Correct.
But
it's something I aspire to
exactly.
have both of those, to be able to wield both of those swords, the performance side and the intellectual side.
So did you talk to John Oliver? Did you talk to Stephen Colbert? Did you talk to, Jon Stewart? You were the last guy that came on under Stewart for the Daily Show, right? Yeah. Like, do you talk to those guys in preparing for this?
I mean, the universal thing that they've all told me is that they're like, you have to make it uniquely your own. Mm-hmm. You know,
I think that's why John Oliver is so successful.
Yeah,
it's because like
it's his own.
He knows exactly what he's really good at.
Yeah.
He knows what he wants to do, and he's doing just that.
Yeah,
I think John Oliver is like this great example of a guy, and obviously I haven't seen your show yet because it premieres Sunday, but he's a guy that I think, regardless of how you feel politically, you can watch his show and be entertained and enjoy it and possibly learn. Like, John Oliver's show can sway an opinion, right?
You think so?
I think so. I mean, I've watched it, going like...
You disagree with him? You disagree with his position and it changes your opinion?
Or I'll go like...
You were indifferent about the thing.
Right.
You're like FIFA.
Or like,
I don't know how I feel that.
I'll see the CNN version of the opinion, and I'll go like, CNN's just doing what CNN always does. Like, I can't put up with this anymore. John Oliver's talking about the same thing.
Yes.
And I'll go, what's John Oliver saying now? Like when he did the whole like Trump show. Yeah. And I'm like, I've heard the Trump criticisms. Like, I don't need somebody breaking it down for a half hour. And then I turn it on and I'm like, this is amazing TV.
Yeah.
Like, this is really good.
He's incredible.
And because there's like work put into it.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell.
And I've heard you talk about how much work is being put into your show.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. Hopefully it connects. Look, you have that's the thing I realized that you have no control over. Mm-hmm. It's like, will it connect?
Right.
I think the good thing I feel is there's times where I feel really scared of the things I'm saying. I'm like, man, should I be saying this?
I see. But
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Does that make sense?
And you like that?
Should I? Yeah, I'm poking certain bears that don't get poked.
These things that you're saying.
They're very real.
Right.
There's a lot of international reporting and evidence on these things, but people don't poke these bears oftentimes.
Well, you've been political for a long time. Have you done anything that like has come back at you in a way where you're like, I didn't think this level of person would care? You know what I mean? Like, you're always going to get...
There's blips.
Yeah.
There's blips. So after the Correspondents Dinner, you get blips.
Right.
Right? You are making fun of the president,
right.
and all that stuff. So, yeah.
And does that, like, after you do the Correspondents Dinner, does it surprise you that the response that you're getting isn't necessarily just comedy response? It's, like, real response, like, on a political level?
Yeah, but I didn't, you don't know what the next day will be like. Again, this is what comes with wisdom, and wisdom comes from experience. I hadn't experienced that, being on the other side of that.
Right.
But, the older Jedi, they tell you. They let you know.
This is going to happen.
Yeah, you're going in the eye of the storm, and, you're poking the bear, and there's going to be repercussions. This is going to happen.
How did you feel when you found out Trump wasn't going to be there?
When I found out that he wasn't going to be there, I was like, no, duh, he's not going to come. But the year that I did it, the gig was very radioactive.
Right.
Remember, it was his first year in office.
Right.
So him not attending was the first time a president hadn't attended since Reagan got shot.
Uh-huh.
Right?
And Reagan, the reason he didn't attend was because shot.
Yeah.
Bullet in him.
Bullet.
Right.
He still sent a message in like, hey, I support the event. I support the press, all that stuff.
But
then people were like, should we do the should we do the event? Should we not? It was this whole controversy. Then a bunch of celebrities, a bunch of organizations were pulling out. Then this is an important thing. I did my research. What is the event about? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's celebrating freedom of speech. It's gives scholarships to young journalists. Yeah, I should support this event. And also, like, people around the world watch this event. It's important.
Was there any part of you that, like, as toxic as it had gotten and as it still is getting, like, there are a lot of people that have just decided there is no humor to be had in this.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And we don't want anything associated with it. This is horrible. If we're talking about what's going on right now, it should be in outrage and protest and blah, blah, blah. Like, there is no humor in this. Has that ever given you pause of being like, oh, are they right? Should we not? Or do you realize like, no, this is how we tackle this?
I think the challenge of great stand-up comedy is being able to walk that line.
Right.
And I remember seeing John respond to Sandy Hook. And I've seen John also fight for the Zadroga bill, stuff like that, right? To get 9/11 first responders coverage and healthcare, right? I've seen the choices he's made, how he's moved and operated to say, what is the ultimate destination of what I want to achieve? I want people to understand this. I want our first responders to be able to get medical care. All right, this is how I have to line my argument up. You can napalm the room. You can do that. But I've seen him construct the argument so perfectly and thread that needle. Be like, how did he not get intercepted? How did he throw that pass?
Right.
That is what I aspire to do. That to me is the genius.
Right.
When comedy's done at such a high level that you get multiple results. Number one, people are like, wow, he said that with so much clarity. Number two, people who didn't know about the issue are like, holy shit, how did I not know that? And number three, people who even disagree with you, and this is the next level part. They either turn or they go, I disagree with you, but I respect your position.
Right. Right, which is kind of like what we were talking about with John Oliver. And the response that I had when it's like, when I'm like, no, I respect I respect it. I'm going to watch the show. Like,
and
that's
I'll
great. Agree with
it. That to me is the highest compliment.
Right, totally. When you're working for The Daily Show, right, and you're doing these interviews and the bits, like, generally speaking, the people you're interviewing are not in on exactly what's going on, correct?
Sure.
So do you have, what level of it is written in advance? Because I feel like a lot of these sort of, the comedy in the bits that you're doing are written around the responses that you get in your interview.
Yeah, you have to be good at improv, but you have to come in with the take.
Right. So you come in with the take, and then you kind of, in your head, formulate where this is going to go based on those interviews and give the responses that you're going to need?
Correct. You have to be good at improv and writing.
Yeah, because I see, like...
Come on. Look, there's a difference. Look, go to YouTube right now and look at the difference between someone with a random YouTube channel and Jordan Klepper at a Trump rally. It is not, you're like, that is a professional, and this is a dude with an SLR and his friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I see it, and
I go... rushing people.
I go, like, I can't, like, and it's like the little facial expressions that I'm like, oh, I think that was edited in post, but then they do they take the shot with both of you in it or something,
Man,
and I'm like,
look at some of these raw tapes, and it's, like, this is one of the coolest things of working at The Daily Show. I would see old tapes of Steve Carell, Ed Helms, Rob Riggle, Stephen Colbert, Samantha Bee. I think, and I've said this, Klepper is one of the best people in the field. He is so... like, I don't mean to be super Indian here, but if your brain is an operating system, the processor that he has in his head is insane. His ability to respond so quick, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
So have you ever been doing an interview with somebody for a story or whatever where you're going like, this isn't quite as ridiculous as I thought it was?
Yeah.
Like, where it's like, wait a minute, I don't even know.
Yeah, pieces die all the time.
Really? So you're like...
Pieces get killed all the time.
And it comes from, like, I'm interviewing this person, and I don't really think that there's that much to make fun of.
It's not working, or it's not, this isn't going anywhere.
Right.
The person doesn't want to participate anymore. Yeah.
Have you dealt with, this thing needs to be mocked? Like, we have to mock this?
Yes.
But I like that person that I was talking to.
Correct.
That sucks.
Yes.
Like, I kind of got to humiliate this person.
Yes.
You've been there.
Yeah. I like Wolf Blitzer, but I got to make fun of him.
Right. It's your job.
Yeah, I like him. He's a very sweet person. And people in journalism really respect him. And he is a very sweet person.
Right.
But he's also Wolf Blitzer.
Right. You don't have much choice here.
Yeah. And look, like, I love that. I chalk it up to the game. Like, that is the ultimate thing that I respect about comedy. If you're a public figure, everybody on either side of the aisle is open to criticism, and that's great. Myself included.
Have you found that a Wolf Blitzer, for instance, subscribes to the same theory?
He was a very good sport about it.
He was.
And I respect that.
Have you dealt with people who are not good sports about it?
Yes. I can't remember anyone offhand, but yes. People have been like, you shouldn't have done that, or I'm offended, or all that stuff, yeah.
Are you, at least, even in the beginning, were you sensitive about that stuff? Meaning, if somebody goes like, yeah, you really fucked up my life by doing that, I hope you enjoyed that. Are you going like, I don't know if I should have?
The targets I'm picking, they got a lot of power and influence, man. They have a lot of influence.
So it's not like you're punching down.
I really don't pick on people. Go through my Twitter. I don't beef with people on Twitter.
Right.
There's people that come after me, but I'm just like, this poor guy with an egg avatar, I'm not going to go after him.
Right. He's got 2 followers. He's like...
whoever he is. Right. I'm like, look, maybe it's like I'm sensitive. I don't know. I'm just like, Dude, I know. I sometimes I see those comments, and I remember, like, even when I was like working at Office Max, there was a like one of my first jobs. There was like a guy who would like write comments on chat forums and stuff like that, and I'm like, this guy's really sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was this part of me that's like
you don't want to bash this guy because it's like he's...
No, and they'll write paragraphs. So you can read YouTube comments on me. This guy's pathetic. I hate him. He's blah, 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 funny. He's trying too hard, all that stuff.
Do you read them?
Of course.
You do?
Yes.
Do you go into spirals of self-loathing?
The scariest parts are when they're oddly accurate.
They hit you with something that you're like,
that you knew about yourself that you hope no one else noticed. They're like, hey, one of his eyes is bigger than the other. And you're like,
shit.
No.
No. They all know.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's that. It's that stuff.
And then, so how do you shake it off?
Well, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where it like, the internet matters. It does matter. There's real life effects to it, but then it also doesn't matter.
Right.
Because both of those, you have to understand both of those things at once.
Yeah. Because there are people that think this is the end all be all.
Yes.
It was said on the internet, and like your life is over now.
Yeah.
Which isn't. That's a gross overstatement.
Yeah, and you also just have to realize you're just like, hey, like, don't think about this like you're in middle school. Remember how in middle school you're like, I want everyone to like me.
Exactly.
That's just not possible.
Right.
It's not possible.
And when you have a bill, like I walk to work every morning, right?
No.
And I see your face.
Right.
As I'm walking to work, I'm like, yeah, I'm interviewing that guy in 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm interviewing that guy in 1 week and 9. Like you just every day.
Right.
And when you had that going on, it's like people, you're giving people the right to
Neil Brennan has one of the greatest jokes
like
on this. This is a great Neil Brennan bit. I'm not doing it justice, but you know, he's like even Beethoven. There's certain songs like on YouTube. It's like, you know, the dun 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 dun, 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 that iconic. Inarguably one of the greatest pieces of art created, right?
For sure.
Has 222 negative thumbs down
Dislikes
on YouTube. Dislikes.
Yeah.
So Mona Lisa.
Right.
Or, you know, Sistine Chapel. Nah, thumbs down. Not for me.
Not for you.
So I'm just like, what are we gonna do here?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It is what it is. Like this is you're putting content out there.
Yeah.
People are gonna. So do you just consume content constantly? Because, you know, the more I kind of watch your interviews or read about you or whatever, it seems like you're completely up to date on the sports world.
Yes.
You're completely up to date on the politics world.
Yes.
You have a pop culture take.
Correct.
Like, do you just feel like it's your job to just be constantly consuming and be constantly aware of everything that's going on?
I like seeing culture and where it's at.
Right.
And talking to people about it. And even if I'm not watching every TV show, talking to people about the issues, talking to people about what moves the needle in their life. I want to add value to people's lives, man. I mean, and I know that sounds corny. I mean that honestly.
Right.
Like when I watch people, I'll watch people on the subway. I'll watch people at the airport. I'll watch the way they're scrolling. I'll watch the way the white headphones are in. I'll watch the way people push their babies through the streets of New York. They're pushing their babies on their phone like this. Like I'll watch that and I'll go, okay, well, if someone's on their phone, is there something I can give them that will add value to their life or perspective or something good? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so.
There's a lot of
I don't think that. I just see these people and I go, what an asshole. Yeah, yes, you can.
There's a lot of bullshit out there.
Yes.
There's a lot of just garbage just being thrown into your mind. If I can add something of value, that's what I'm trying to do. And so I try to talk to people about all that stuff, to be like, what are you thinking about? And then I really think about it. What can I add to the conversation that's going to add something to your life?
So how do you filter out when you're consuming your content?
Yeah.
How do you filter out what is the bullshit and what is like, this actually has a value for me to have in my brain?
Well, I try to read nutrition-dense content.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
New York Times, The Atlantic, The Economist.
I watch 90 Day Fiancé. It's like 2 hours of coming up next.
But don't get me wrong. But don't get me wrong. Like if someone's just like, you need to watch Queer Eye or The Great British Bake Off. Okay, I'll taste it.
But you'll take a look.
Yeah,
you're not going to watch a whole season.
But I have a baby, I have a wife. Yeah, and I'm doing the show. But I will give it. I will watch it, and I can. And by the way, I appreciate both ends of the spectrum. I totally get why people are just like, dude, I don't want to think about politics. I don't give a fuck. Like, I live in Plano, Texas. I go for my job in Dallas. I drive to Plano. I have my I have my kids. I don't want to hear your nonsense. I empathize with those people. I'm on WhatsApp threads with like my friends back home in Sacramento. Like I really try to think about people's lives.
So do you try to shape what you're doing now to fit your audience, obviously, that also does kind of have political fatigue, that doesn't want to be like told how bad the world is?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like shape it for an audience that's like,
correct.
You know, I want to watch something that's entertaining.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But by the way, when people are just like, things are too dark, are you kidding me? People watch murder documentaries on Netflix.
Yeah.
People getting murdered.
Unfortunately, Norton's not here, but he just like only 2 weeks ago said that he was giving up watching cartel beheading videos. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Jim's another beast.
Well,
yeah. That's but yeah, like, so for me, I'm just like, I don't completely believe that proposition. I believe people are interested in great stories.
Yeah.
Can you storytell?
Do you get to?
And that's the challenge I give myself.
So you've never gotten to a place where you're like, fuck this, I'm just going to do a sports show. I just talk about sports.
Oh, dude, I fantasize about this all the time.
Yes.
You know, I tell Jen this all the time. Like, I'm like, if this all just fails, I could just be one of those hosts on one of those cooking shows.
That's it.
You know
what I mean? It's just
I'm on like The Chew.
Easy.
I'm like, today we're gonna make my mom's chicken tikka masala, and they're like, ooh, spicy. I'm like, and that's it.
But you know what happens with those people? They're all stressed out because they're all fighting each other.
But are you stressed out? This is a great gig.
I'm stressed out all the time.
Why though? This is a great gig.
Because the gig is I'm very worried that people are gonna find out like there is no reason to pay that guy to just talk about stuff every day. Everybody talks about stuff every day.
Yeah.
Why would we pay him to just sit here and talk about it?
Because you're compelling and interesting?
Well, you know, that's a whole argument that you'd have to win.
Sure.
You know, that's a whole argument that you'd have to win. Okay. I mean, you know, I go up and down. I think like anybody else. Like I'll go 1 minute, I'll have all the ego in the world of being like, I've gotten really good at this. I've really figured this out. And then the next day, I mean, I guess that's part of doing a show every day.
Yeah.
The next day, it's like, what the fuck am I doing?
Who do you think is the greatest interviewer of all time? Your craft. Who's the greatest interviewer of all time? Who makes you go, wow, they're really amazing at their craft?
Well, I mean, the greatest interviewer.
Just for you, it's your personal choice. Your NBA all NBA first team.
You know, I like Letterman a lot.
Yeah.
In the sense that he would get things out of people.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be like, let's stop everything and let's drag something out of your soul. Like, relax. We all know when we're watching an interview that even if somebody is being very revealing, even if they go, I forgot I was in an interview, they didn't forget. Like, we know that we're all like agreeing to something here. Letterman would just do such a good job of bringing people into his world.
Yeah.
And then trying to shape it for the audience. Like, if it's Paris Hilton, he would know that his audience thinks that Paris Hilton is just vapid.
Yeah.
And when she started being vapid, like, okay, let's explore this. Like, you know what I mean? Because I know what the audience is thinking. So I've always liked stuff like that.
Okay.
You know? What about you?
I haven't thought about that. That's what I was asking you, because this is like your craft.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, I like when people, I've always thought, like Howard Stern, for example, that was the easy one for best interviewer.
Yeah.
But I think what Howard Stern is the best at is making his personal life interesting. Like getting me to a place in the car where like he's talking about I remember for some reason he would do like he's just talking for 20 minutes about how you know he went to church to pray for something, but he doesn't really want to talk about what he was praying for, but he's just talking about it, right. And like I'm so compelled.
That's awesome.
I'm not turning off the radio. I want to know what's going on in his personal life.
That's storytelling.
Storytelling is what I like.
Yeah, but the framework of it, like you're talking about religion, don't do that.
Exactly.
It's storytelling. You got to be a great storyteller.
Yeah. And that's what you're doing with politics, right?
I'm trying to.
It's like, you know, just turn it into a story.
Correct.
That people
the
can be
characters
entertained by.
Yeah, totally.
Great.